All right, we're live. It is Final Four Saturday. You see Lance Taylor there out back at Walk-Ons. I'm Ryan Brown, MyBookie.ag, bringing to the show MyBookie.ag. Code next round when you sign on to MyBookie.ag. Get that sign-on bonus. Use it once. Win with it. It is yours and yours forever. And as we get started here, Jim Dunaway is going to join us from out in Phoenix here, just outside State Farm Arena. What is up, Dunaway? How are you?
Oh, man, I tell you. Little T and I have been scrambling this morning. We're on a big Alabama booster trip, right? TotalSportsTravel.com, one of the proud sponsors of us coming out here. What a great experience. The only downfall for us, great for the fans, our media credentialing was all the way on the other side of the stadium, and we had not clear bags. So Little T and I have just gone on what looks to be like I think my Apple Watch said a 5.1 mile walk around the stadium, only to get to the credential entrance or the media entrance to find out credentialing was here in the middle of this strip mall across the street. So
poor planning is what you're telling me. Poor planning.
But I kept smiling all the way through it, and the fans are here ready to go, and it's a beautiful sunny day in Phoenix. Now officially in the afternoon out here.
That's right, LT.
Roll Tide to you guys.
We're good. LT sitting out back there at Walk-Ons. Nice day outside here, LT.
Yeah, and Dunaway, you chime in on this, but I was talking to a friend this morning that's out there. He's in Tempe. He said Purdue fans are absolutely everywhere. It seems like they're the biggest base. And then I just got a text a few minutes ago from another friend that's outside the stadium there, and he said it's nothing but NC State fans. So yeah. What is the biggest represented fan base? I would have thought it was Alabama, at least coming.
No. I don't even think Alabama is. Alabama's well represented, but I don't know if it's going to be close. I think it really depends on where you are, right? We just happened, Taylor and I, to be staying at the Alabama Overflow Hotel, one block from the team hotel, but it is also the UConn Overflow Hotel. And it's also the hotel where all the coaches are staying. So that is, it's a very packed hotel that has sort of a mixed mash of people. But in that hotel, I'd say more UConn. But out here right now, Purdue plays the first game, but Purdue fans are everywhere right now. But Alabama's well represented. But if I had to go betting right now, I would go Purdue, UConn, NC State, Alabama. Very close, though.
That's interesting you asked that, Lance, because I thought about that. I was watching the game last night, and when UConn would score, there was a little bit of cheer. When Iowa would score, it sounded like an Iowa home game. And I thought those UConn fans, they're not going to go to the ladies' game. They're gonna go watch their men play, aren't they?
Yeah, I sent out a video last night, Brownie, of UConn people in the lobby. All the fans who were here gathered to cheer on the women, but from here in Glendale or in Phoenix, depending on where everybody was. So the UConn fans were supporting the women, but they were doing it from here in the desert.
Yeah, Pruitt mentioned, fellas, I watched both of those games last night. I know way too much about women's basketball now, but we had UConn plus a 3 winner. We had South Carolina minus 11.5 at Lance's lock winner. And I feel pretty good about Monday night or Sunday night now, I should say.
Foul or no foul at the end? Dunaway, foul or no foul at the end?
I thought technically, I guess it could be called a foul, but how many screens are not moving screens, in my opinion? Yeah. And, you watch the men's game tonight. What happened in that women's game is not a foul in the men's game. I don't think it should have been called.
But here's the problem. Like, if you just set that pick, they're not going to call the contact. But when you raise your elbow, and that was the problem. Like, there was no need to raise the elbow, but because of that motion, that's exactly why they whistled that. I wouldn't have called it anyway, but she doesn't raise the elbow, they don't call it.
Yeah, but I felt like Dunaway, Iowa was going to get every call down the stretch. Like any bang call, Iowa's getting the call.
Yeah, UConn used to be the draw, Brownie. It's not anymore. Caitlin Clark needed to be in that game for them to have good versus evil again. Is the way they'll play it again with Caitlin Clark versus unbeaten South Carolina.
And I know we're here to talk about the pure games that are today, but that 6'7" chick for South Carolina with the crazy fuchsia hair.
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was 6'7". I thought she was like 6'5". but all she can do is post up on the block. She ain't a good player. Anyway, my point. You put any 6'7" person in that game, they're gonna score 20 and have 15 boards.
Yeah. All right, let's Lance. Yeah, that's our ladies basketball talk here. Let's talk about the point spread here. I saw just before we went on MyBookie.ag, Lance, I checked it. Alabama, it has dropped to 10.5. This has been around 12. It jumped up to 12.5, dropped to 11.5, down to 10.5. So I guess the late money coming in with the Crimson Tide here, huh?
Yeah, I'm just going to speak openly, and I'm going to tell you I like Alabama here. I really do. Yeah. I think Alabama's going to keep this game extremely close. Now, if Alabama gets off to a slow start like they did against Clemson, this thing could be 20, and they could be buried by then. I've just got a feeling they're going to shoot the eyes out tonight. I think they're going to come to play, and I think we're getting smart money right here. You're getting some really sharp players that are coming in on Alabama late, and they grab that 11.5. And I think this is good news for Alabama. I don't know if they're going to win the game, guys, but I think this is going to be a battle. I think you're going to see like we like to call them dick whippings. You're going to see that from Purdue against NC State. I could see them win that game by 30. Woo! And then I think the Alabama-UConn game is going to be extremely close.
That's interesting, Brown, that the number continues to drop. All I can tell you is what I've experienced around the team out here. They are about as loose as they can be at this point. Now, does it change when the ball goes into the air and it's their one shining moment? Maybe. But so far, they're a loose bunch. Nate used the phrase playing with house money, and they've been acting like that. They've been, very loose in the shoot-arounds that they've had, a couple of trips inside State Farm Arena here, State Farm Stadium. They've been dancing. They've been coming down to the lobby at the team hotel, meeting with fans. They've enjoyed the speaking series that have come from Devin Booker. A lot of bling was given out from the Nike folks. Everybody got Nike swooshes. Now, it's not real diamonds. It's what's that, fake diamonds that was
Cubic zirconia? Cubic CZ?
Yeah. So it's that stuff, but the players still loved it. They have approached this with the excitement and the awe of a first-time program ever to be in this thing. There's no expectation. I was talking to some Alabama folks who travel both with the football team and this basketball team, and they were telling me, after a while, 2011, 2012, 2015, 2017, 2018, with football, there was never a walk into the room wow moment anymore. And with this basketball team, walking into the arena, here comes, one of the great swimmers of all time to speak to you. Here's the Nike rep, Booker, NBA great, to speak to you and give you gifts. Everything's just been like an oh wow moment for these guys, and they're really just enjoying it and embracing it and having fun with the ride. And again, does that pay off in the game, or does it change when the actual game starts and they press? We won't know for a couple of hours, but so far so good. The guys are loose. They're in a good headspace. And I think they know what they've got to do, right? Every person I talked to, Barkley last night, all the way to Lenny Acuff, coach of Lipscomb, big fan of our show, everyone in between, everyone says, Reese in our show this week, they need to hit about 23. They need to hit about 23s. Everyone says they need to hit about 23s. So I think they know going in, they need to hit about 23s if they're going to have a chance.
Yeah, so Lance, you think they're going to shoot well. So, you think 18, 23, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think if they hit 23s, I think they definitely win the game. I think 15 is probably more your number. Again, I think this is going to be a close game. I've got a weird feeling that Alabama might win this game. I do feel like Purdue's going to win this whole thing. It doesn't matter Alabama or UConn. I've just got this feeling that Purdue's going to pull what Virginia pulled in 2018 and, losing to a 16 seed the year before and then running the table. I think Purdue is really loose now that they've gotten to this point, but we'll see. But I think Alabama's going to play extremely well. We didn't expound on this yesterday, but talking about a top 5 moment for Alabama athletics.
Yeah.
And I really believe, and Dunaway, you're out there, so you've got a better feel on this. But, when we went in 2000, I think we were all there in 92 in New Orleans. That had a magical feel against Miami. And it also had this kind of feel like we can't beat this Miami team. This kind of feels like this Alabama basketball against UConn. But then in 2009, when we first did a show together out in Newport, there was something special about that Saban team and that first buzz. And I just get this feeling. I know basketball is never going to be where football is, but for Alabama basketball, this is just a special moment. I think it's a top 5 moment now, Alabama athletics. I don't know if you guys.
I can't tell you guys how many times for people over the age of 40 that listens to our show that have walked up, and Taylor could attest to this. They've walked up and they said, Dunaway, can you believe? First of all, Dunaway loved the show. Tell the guys they do a great job. Can you believe we're at the Final Four? And then everyone exchanges stories how they never thought they would see Alabama in the Final Four. And then some of them say, well, when Nate got hired, after that first couple of years, I sort of felt like Nate would eventually get us to one of these. But they're still in awe that they're here. And I'm with you, LT. If they win, it's already a big moment in Alabama history. If they win a game and at worst case becomes the national runner-up, it moves up a little bit further. And man, if they win the whole shooting match, I don't know where it ranks. It would be a top 5er for me, no doubt. I mean, it's in the conversation as a top 5er for me already, just being at the Final Four.
We get to the important thing. Like, I know Dunaway has a Michael Scott moment a couple of times a week, but on the plane yesterday.
On the phone?
Yeah, were you paid or was it a dare? Were there Alabama fans actually on the plane? It didn't sound like there were.
Am I muted? No. Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
No. Queen of Content had decided before, Little T had decided before we got on the planes, like, you need to lead a cheer. And so I, while we were waiting on the tarmac, charter flight, so you're not flying out of the main part of the airport. So we're doing the on the tarmac, bag check and all of that. So it's very different. And then we're seated on the very last row, Little T and I. But we're next to the phone and we're next to the flight attendant. And so I hit him up. I said, hey, while we wait for the okay from the tower, let me get the crowd fired up a little bit. Let me lead in a cheer. And she was like, no, I can't do that. I cannot do that. So by the time the alcohol had been passed out and we landed in Phoenix, and there was going to be a little time before we could run across some runways to get to the private area, she had made an announcement, and she ended with Roll Tide, and nobody gave her a Roll Tide back. I mean, there's nothing but Alabama boosters on this plane and Alabama fans, and nobody gave her a Roll Tide back. And as she let off the click, she was like, all right then, because the flight crew's from Virginia. And she was like, all right then, I wonder if I said it right. And I said, well, you did, but should I lead them in cheers while we're waiting? And she says, go for it. So I just went for it. And I've got friends who are in the cheerleading business at Alabama, some alumni cheer mic guys. And they said, LT, that I needed a lot more work, that I would have never made it through tryouts.
Well, hey, they didn't give her a Roll Tide, the flight attendant. They didn't give you one either.
Well, you couldn't hear it. You couldn't hear it. No, we did a Roll Tide. The Tide was better than the Roll. And then came back and had a good Roll, and then a less good Tide. And then I gave him a Roll Tide. But I was so enthusiastic and loud, you couldn't hear the plane. I would say I had 77% participation.
Did you finish off by telling him you don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide? Did you finish with that?
I did not. But I gave him a lot of Roll Tides. The show love has been tremendous. But hats off to Little T. She has had to endure, for her, a lifetime worth of Alabama this week. A lifetime worth. A lifetime
All right, LT.
worth.
LT, I know you got to bounce real quick. Let's get a final thought from you before Dunaway and I wrap this thing up. You've already said you're not surprised if Alabama wins this thing. Just give us what you think happens in both games here.
I think Rylan Griffin's going to have a big game tonight. That's my feel. I also think Grant Nelson's going to play well tonight. I think you're going to see – I don't know how much Pringle you're going to see. I mean, you're obviously going to see him. But I think Alabama's going to take advantage of guards tonight, and they're going to take advantage of everybody's ability to shoot and share the basketball. So I do think Alabama's going to keep this extremely close. I've got a weird feeling they win this game. I know this is going to be one of the drop back UConn things and winning the last 10 tournament games by an average of 28 points per game. And on the other side, I think Zach Edey and Braden Smith are going to dominate. I think that is going to – I mean, the total points right now for DJ Burns, he's been such a story in this tournament. Vegas has got that total 11.5.
Whew.
That just screams under. It screams they're going to score like 55, 60 points, and Purdue's going to beat the hell out of them. But, again, I'm going to stick with it. I think Purdue's going to win this whole thing. I think Alabama's going to keep it tight. I think the first game is going to be a sleeper, but I think this nightcap tonight, I think Dunaway and Little T are going to have a lot of fun being there in person because I think it's going to be a hell of a game.
All right. Enjoy it, Lance. We'll talk to you after the game, buddy.
Hey, see you guys.
All right, see you. That is Lance Taylor bouncing out of here. Dunaway's still with me from out in Phoenix. He is just outside State Farm Stadium. I keep saying State Farm Arena, Dunaway. It's turned into arena, but it's a stadium. You've been inside there, I would imagine, or you've at least seen the video. I know you guys barely been on the ground there. Not a shooter's paradise by any stretch of the imagination. You're muted, Dunaway. You've muted. There you go.
It's not, but the guys who I've talked to, including Sam, your guy, who, by the way, was introduced. He's like, he knew me from the locker room. My bald head, didn't know my name, but someone in the lobby introduced me, said, hey, this is Jim Dunaway. And he's like, oh, Jim's interviewed me a couple of times. And then the girl that was introducing us said, the guy on his show, Ryan Brown, thinks you're going to be the MVP of the game. And he's like, I hope so. And then I asked him about shooting, and everyone I've talked to, it's been raining threes for not only Sam, who a couple of times my media friends who were at the shoot-around told me Sam hit 4 in a row 2 different times during the start of practice the other day from three land. So, but everybody's been shooting well. Nobody's complaining about the backdrop or anything. So, that's when you shoot the threes, that's the one thing you worry about. And so far, the guys like the atmosphere and the shooting. They've loved it so far.
Yeah. So that should be it should be interesting to see the way the shooting goes. Lance said he thinks 15 would do it. What's the number you feel like for Alabama?
I think I'm going to go 18. 18 will do it. And but more importantly, pace of play, Brownie. First half pace of play. You need to see the 7-2 Klingon. You need to see his tongue at some point in the under 4 timeout hanging out and wagging because he's so tired. They need to run the 7-2 guy to death in the first half. Make him quit. Make him quit, Brown. That's what they need to do. They need to run him to death. Run him to death and see what happens.
Well, and again, a reminder, MyBookie.ag, bringing you the show, MyBookie.ag, code next round. When you sign on, get that sign-on bonus, bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie.ag. Alabama,
what's the total?
The number has dropped down to 10.5. Alabama, 10.5 point underdog in this one.
What's the total? Have you seen the total?
Let me pull it back up. It's been 160.5 all week. I didn't look to see if it moved when the number moved.
Because remember, Carolina.
It's dropped half a point. So a lot of people think Alabama in the under, which is that seems kind of counterintuitive. I would think if you take Alabama, you'd go over, wouldn't you?
That's what I was thinking, Brownie. Remember, North Carolina was 173.5.
Yeah.
Right? And then North Carolina got suckered in and started playing Alabama's speed. And it played to Alabama's favor there. So, obviously Dan Hurley and Nate know each other. They played each other just last year. So Nate's got a good game plan. Rylan and Mark and them talked about that game last year where all they did was try to, in their words, run us off the 3 line, make us get off the 3 line to even get open passes. So Alabama, I think, had a good look last year, different teams, different personnel, but it was almost a pre-scout last year in that tournament out in Oregon, out in Portland. So it'll be interesting to see how Nate Oates adjusts to having played him last year and how Dan would defend his style. Bama's going to try to play the same style. Let's see how they try to adjust to that. A lot of people believe with them coming out trying to run them off the 3 line, that's where they will do the little, pass out to the 3 line and then dump it back on a little give and go towards the rim. And that's where having Klingon not planted underneath becomes a big factor in the game.
Bobby points out here, Alabama's team total is 75. He said he might have to make an investment on the over. I'm looking at it right here, MyBookie.ag. Alabama over 75, minus 105. That's the team total right now for the Crimson Tide, over 75.
Well, to Bobby's point, if they don't go over 75, I don't think they're even close in the game.
No, but again, as we've discussed, UConn has not given up 80 very often this year. I think we determined it was twice, right, that they've given up 80 or more. Now, St. John's in the conference tournament put 90 on them, but St. John's also gave up 95. I frankly did not watch that game. I can't attest, Jim, to how much of that was garbage time. So I'm hesitant to make anything about that number at all.
But I would, and I think Bobby's hinting to this, that if it's under 75, then UConn probably wins this by about 18. And Alabama, has scored 72, and UConn has scored 90, or Alabama has scored 68, and UConn has scored 86. If it's over 75, then Alabama's in the game a little bit late, and then that becomes very interesting. So, I don't know about the 75 number. Bobby's a better gambler than I am. That seems like a pretty good team total for Alabama, and I think if they're around that number, they lose the game. If they're in the 80s, they're in the game. And I think if they're north of 87, that's when you have a chance of winning the game.
As Lunsford said, upset of the millennium tonight if Alabama not only wins, but the under hits. He is right about that. That's a pretty difficult path to victory for the Tide.
It would be, but, some of this, I don't want to paint this team like the whatever greatest sporting team of all time is, because they have lost some games, but they have not lost a lot. But this would be one of the bigger upsets I've seen in my life. I would start discussing then, is this a bigger upset than Alabama, the 1992 Alabama team on January 1, 1993 over that Miami team? I think if they played that game 10 times, I don't know if Alabama wins it again. After Miami had one to look at them, oh, they're going to come out and do this, we can adjust to that. Or they're that fast, we can adjust to that. But, they just caught them with the perfect game plan and surprised them with speed. And I don't know how much Miami was into it. You're sort of hoping that's what happens with UConn tonight. UConn's looking ahead. They think they're going to win this game. They're going to be surprised by Alabama's shooting and their speed, and maybe that gives Alabama a fighting chance. I don't know where I would rank this in greatest upsets that I've covered, but it would be up there.
Well, as I said about Georgia in football, history is history for a reason. There was a reason nobody had won 3 straight national championships. Georgia didn't do it. There's a reason teams don't win back-to-back national championships in college basketball. It's very, very hard to do. It's only happened twice since the expanded tournament. Since the tournament went to at least 64. So, just does not happen. Hasn't happened since Florida did it. Now, that's not to say Alabama's the one that stops UConn, but UConn is fighting against history here, Jim. It just does not happen that teams go back-to-back in this tournament.
Yeah, Billy Donovan's a long time ago. He's had maybe 2 careers since then. This UConn team, their metrics make it look like they're inevitable. And it's not like a Gonzaga team that's coming out of a poor league. We know how good the league is that they play in. So, and they played a good out-of-conference schedule too. It seems inevitable they're the national champs. Like, I'm the one I don't really buy Purdue, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think if UConn wins, they win it all tonight. If Alabama wins, then Purdue has a chance.
For the record, I think this UConn team is not edible. So I think you were correct on both of those. I don't believe you can eat that.
They're not edible or inevitable.
They're indeed inedible, as Lunsford says. All right, you're about to go into State Farm there. Give me a final thought before you go watch the games and we catch up afterwards.
My final thought is this, Brown. It's whether you call yourself a basketball fan or not, you need to go to a Final Four. Better when your team's in it. You Auburn fans who went to Minneapolis know this, and Alabama fans who are here now. But even if not, you need to go to the Final Four one time if you're a sports fan. Much like I would tell you to go to at least one Kentucky Derby, at least one Daytona 500, go to the Final Four one time. This is a special event. In our lobby today, while I was waiting on Little T to finish getting ready for us to jump on the shuttle, Jim Boeheim, the head coach at Kansas State, I can't remember his name right now.
Jerome Tang?
Yeah, the head coach for DePaul. It was just one head coach after another walking by. And, an Alabama fan walked up to me and told me that they had talked to Bruce Pearl earlier, who obviously is over here doing some TV for ESPN. And they had seen, this coach or that coach. And Kevin Love was here going to meet his old coach in the lobby. Just away from that lobby, just to be here with all the fans and experience basketball in a stadium. I don't know if we should play the championship game in a stadium because it brings in all the different dynamics. But just to see it happen, sitting there in Minneapolis, and I let Landrum have the courtside jock seat back then because he's an Auburn guy. So I went to the auxiliary press box, which was the football press box. So to be above it all and know that there was a whole upper deck of fans above me and just how massive it was. Think about it. That's the largest crowd ever to see an Auburn basketball game, period. And today will be the largest crowd ever to see an Alabama basketball game, just by the sheer number of people inside a football stadium. It's something to see. So that's my big thought.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Go to Next Round Live on social media. You can see Dunaway's talk with the Sears family. Mark Sears' parents, really nice talk there. And also Charles Barkley, as he gave his talk to the game of Dunaway last night as he caught up with Charles there in Phoenix. And Next Round Live is where you'll get all the locker room reaction. Little T and Dunaway will be in the locker room. Nate Oates on the post-game podium. You'll get all of that right there at Next Round Live. All right, enjoy the game, Dunaway. Oh, one more thing. What you got?
Did anyone who was the old guy that used to just give a thought on the Masters? Jack Whitaker?
Yeah, that was very Jack Whitaker.
Yeah, it did seem like I'm the old guy. Roll the old guy out and let him wax poetically about the Final Four, and then say goodnight. Let's get to the real broadcast.
Well, it's coming up. Don't forget, TBS and True TV, not CBS. TBS and True TV, 5:09. The first game's about to tip. Alabama scheduled for 7:49 against UConn. Enjoy it, Dunaway. We'll talk to you afterwards. Have fun. MyBookie.ag to play the game, both games, and anything. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. Enjoy the game. We'll see you after Alabama and UConn late tonight. Enjoy.